Let's move on to main topic number 2. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This is from Alton Want. Hey, John, I was wondering, movie fans are now complaining that there are too many remakes and not enough original movies. But a lot of people don't watch original movies. Booksmart made $26 million, The Goldfinch $4 million, The Peanut Butter Falcon $15 million. But movie remakes such as Lion King are billion-dollar movies, and studios are not making a big profit with these movies. Can we complain that studios are not making original movies if we don't want them? Or watch them? Excuse me. Well, either or. Do we want them? Do we want to watch them? How do we feel about remakes and originals?
Guys, I'll tell you what. This has traditionally been one of the most frustrating topics to me. It's inevitable. Whenever they say, hey, they're going to redo, for instance, the Battlestar Galactica thing we talked about recently, even though that's a television series and not a movie. They're doing it. Everybody says, oh, everybody who wants to sound like there are tours and say, oh, Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore. All they do is this. And I constantly come back to the fact that more original film is made today than in any other time in Hollywood history. Now, it's also true that more films are being produced overall in the worldwide global market than in any other time in history as well. And there are more remakes and more sequels being done at any time in Hollywood history as well. But the same is true of original films. And whenever this comes up, I always go, okay, let's just go over to the release schedule. And we start to go down the release schedule. I'm like, original film, remake. Original film, sequel. Original film, sequel. Original film, remake. I mean, the amount of original films far outweighs the non-original films. But that doesn't stop people from going, oh, Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore. Nobody makes original films anymore. Shut up. Yes, they do. And we, as film fans, look, and I'm counting you, I'm counting me, I'm counting everybody in this room. At one level or another, in our film fandom, we can be pretty hypocritical. Mm-hmm. Because the reality is, while we moan and lament that they don't make original films, the fact of the matter is they do. And the second fact is we don't go see them. And then we'll cry and complain. And this is what we as film fans do. And I'm guilty of this. You're guilty of this. All of us as film fans are guilty of this to one degree or another. So let's just own it together here. And just for example, and I'm really glad they brought that up in the message, because let's just look at this year. These were just off the top of my head, okay? When I was rushing to get a list together. Midsommar. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this movie, but a lot of people love this movie. It is oozingly original. It's very different. Made $36 million. I mean, which is nice for it, but in a world where film fans are going, why doesn't Hollywood make original films anymore? Midsommar comes out, completely original, different, all that kind of stuff. $36 million. Peanut Butter Falcon, which is the one film on this list I am myself guilty of not seeing. I still haven't gotten around to watching Peanut Butter Falcon, so this is me on this one. But Peanut Butter Falcon, everybody's raving about this film. $16.7 million. Fighting with My Family. A movie I will admit I did not think was good. It's about a wrestling girl and blah, blah, who cares? This was one of the most charming movies of the year. It was really good. $39 million. Booksmart, which to me is still, as of right now, very close with The Farewell, but to me right now, Booksmart for me is still my number one film of the year. It's incredibly good. Olivia Wilde knocked it out of the park in her first directorial debut. $22.6 million. The Farewell. There's a hell of a lot of people that consider this to be the best film of the year. I think it ranks right up there. It's a magnificent movie, magnificent story, $17.3 million. Hotel Mumbai, which it took me a while to get around to finally watching. Seeing the would-have-been Batman running around there with Dev Patel playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. $9.6 million. Movie's brilliant. I finally got around to watching Blinded by the Light. I was a little bit late to the party on that one. Brilliant. Wonderful film. $11.7 million. And then we come to Ready or Not, which is just a fun, creative, the things they do in the movie. It's an all thriller, no filler from start to finish. This movie starts with a bang, ends with a bang. Totally enjoyable, totally fun. By the way, these are not opening weekend numbers, ladies and gentlemen. These aren't even just domestic numbers. These are worldwide total numbers, $44.4 million. Now, look, when we're looking at numbers like these, we can look at each individual film and go, well, hey, for The Farewell, which was made for fairly cheap, that's not a bad result. We can look at Blinded by the Light and say, well, that's still not what they were looking for. We can look at something Ready or Not and say, hey, for the type of movie Ready or Not was, that's not bad. And we can say all of that. But what we cannot ignore is in an environment where we as film fans, and again, I'm including all of us, including this guy, as film fans, we moan and bitch and complain about, oh, there's no original films in Hollywood. The reality is that we don't want to admit is this. Yes, there is. There's lots of original film in Hollywood. There's lots of good original film in Hollywood. The problem is those of us when we look in the mirror. We don't go to support it. We don't go to support it. Now, I'm all for supporting Lion King and Aladdin and the 24th Marvel MCU movie, and the 9th DCEU movie, and the whatever. I'm all for supporting those. I'm there with bells on. And I'm okay if original films aren't your cup of tea. That's fine too. I'm just saying what we should not do is, number one, make the false statement that Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore. They make more original films today than any other time in history. But then secondly, be hypocritical about it and complain that there's no original films when we ourselves do not go out and support those original films. And Rob, this became a really big thing to me a couple of years ago when Nice Guys came out with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. That movie is fan-effing-tastic. That movie's so good, and nobody went to go see it. It was completely original. It was crisp. It was well-paced. Fabulous. Nobody went to go see it. So you got to forgive me, guys, whenever I read a comment or something about saying, oh, Hollywood doesn't know how to do anything original anymore. You got to forgive me if I get a little bit of a nervous twitch when I hear that, because it bugs the hell out of me, because number one, it's not true. And then number two, even if it was true, it's incredibly hypocritical of us. Anyway, Rob, listen, as being in movie circles, as being somebody who has produced your own original film, as somebody who's been, you've got to hear this one a lot too, don't you?
Well, yeah, and look, it all comes down, I hate to say it, but it all comes down to economics. I always say it ain't show friends, it's show business. But, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to make movies like all the ones on the list that you just showed. And the question is, who's going to go see them? Because at the end of the day, movies are a product. We love movies, but when you're thinking you're going to investors, like in my case, I go to investors and go, look, I want you to give me $4 million, $2 to $4 million. That's kind of the world I live in. And you have to be able to say how you're going to return their money. People want to get their money back plus 30% within a reasonable amount of time. Now, with the amount of money that movies cost and how much they now cost to market, the reality is there's a very few movies now that are guaranteed of making a lot of money at the box office. Like you pointed out, these movies, you've talked about Booksmart, how wonderful that movie is. The Farewell. These are heartwarming movies that most audiences would probably love. But we don't live in a world where people want to see movies like that anymore. Not en masse. People are surprised that the Downton Abbey movie made $33 million, and everyone's going, ooh, the audience for that was people 55 and older. The fact is that the movie-going audience has completely changed, and movies are now, these big grossing movies, are spectacles. That's why Disney, I do not understand why Disney ever gets made fun of, because what they're doing, their business model, whether it's Lion King, whether it's Frozen, they are producing exactly what they're supposed to be producing. Big movies for big audiences, and they are delivering usually, I would say, 95% of the time. Whereas, like you pointed out, John, there are wonderful movies in multiplexes all of the time that nobody knows about and nobody is going to see. And most importantly, people don't want to see those movies. And that's the sad part. We have to start broadening our horizons. And as film fans, I was always surprised, especially even when I went to film school, that I would watch these older movies that I would be told were classics that I hadn't yet got around to seeing. And when I finally saw them, what amazed me about them was that they were all wonderful. The top 100 list of the AFI's best films ever made. Yeah. You start going through that list, and it doesn't matter if your favorite movies are Star Wars or the MCU. If you love movies and you start watching that list, every one of them is like a magical, it's like the Ark of the Covenant. You're opening it up and the power of God will come out and shine on you. It's amazing. And I would say that the only thing I would say to any film fan or people that are watching this show, move out of your lane and go see things that you might not normally be interested in seeing, just to see what's out there. And you might find that there's a lot of wonderful work being done that you're just missing out on. And I'm telling you, it'll enrich your life.
And it's funny to me though that all these films are there. They're there. When people, it's like going into a grocery store and somebody going, "Oh, why doesn't anybody make 7-grain bread?" Actually, 7-grain bread is right down aisle number 4, right over there. Why doesn't anybody make 7-grain bread? It's right over there if you want to go see it. And it's over. Now, I've heard this argument, Rob, and I reject this. I've had people say to me, "Well, John, it's not that people want original films; they want original blockbusters."
Right.
So basically, you want an original film that's just like all those other big blockbusters, just with a different title. I mean, we want original films. There's original film there, and that's the part that frustrates me. Anyway, guys, let me ask you, what do you think about all that? Are you one of the people, and let's admit, we've all done it, but are you one of those people who will often go, Hollywood doesn't know how to make anything creative and original anymore, when clearly they do? Are you one of the people who you get a little bit of a nervous twitch like I do whenever I hear people say that? What's your thoughts on all this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.